Now the festival of the unleavened bread arrived, when the Passover lamb is sacrificed. Jesus sent Peter and John ahead and said, "Go, and prepare the Passover meal, so we can eat it together." Jesus knew that his hour had come to leave this world and return to his Father. He had loved his disciples during his ministry on earth, and now he loved them to the very end. When it was evening, Jesus sat down at the table with the 12. And Jesus said to them, "My children, I will be with you only a little longer. You will look for me, and just as I told the Jews, so I tell you now, where I am going, you cannot come."
It was a different kind of Passover meal, to say the least. I remember sitting down at the table. Philip leans over and whispers, "Hey Thomas, I think something special is going to happen tonight." I looked at him and said, "I doubt it." But I was wrong. Jesus got up, walked over and grabbed a bowl of water and a towel. I remember thinking to myself, what is Jesus going to do with foot water? I doubt he's going to wash anybody's feet. But I was wrong. Jesus knelt down and started washing Bartholomew's feet. Bart just sat there. He didn't say anything at all. He didn't move. But actually none of us did. He finished and he went over to Andrew and John's feet and then the rest of us. But I remember thinking at that point, this all seems so strange, but yet so wonderful. I doubt anyone's going to say anything at this point. But you know who broke the silence? Peter.
"No way you're going to wash my feet." That's what I told him. He could wash other people's feet, but he wasn't going to wash mine. So I looked at him and I said, "Jesus, there's no way you're washing my feet. I mean, you're the king." So he looked at me and he said, "Well, then you have nothing to do with me." And I'm like, ouch. Wash my feet, wash my hands, and wash my whole body if you have to. And he said, "No, your feet will be just fine, Peter." In the midst of washing our feet, he teaches us servanthood.
Jesus brought us some bread and wine, and he blessed and served it to us. He said it was a new covenant with his blood. He also said, "Tonight all of you will lose faith in me." And I remember thinking to myself, lose faith in you? Never. But I didn't say anything. I just sat there.
I couldn't just sit there. I had to say something. I looked at him and I said, "Jesus, I love you. You can count on me. Everyone may fall away, but I will not. You can count on me." So he looked at me, smiled, and he said, "Peter, you will deny me 3 times before tomorrow morning." Ouch. Next thing we know, we wrap up our things and we go to the garden to pray.
After the meal, Jesus led the disciples to Gethsemane, where he often prayed. On reaching the place, he withdrew about a stone's throw beyond them, knelt down, and prayed, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." An angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him, and being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground.
Once we got to the garden, Jesus asked Peter, James, and myself to go a little further in the garden with him and pray. We tried. We kept falling asleep, and Jesus kept waking us up. I remember once he said, "The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." That's true. It's all a blur. To think of all this mess got started because of Judas. Did he really think what he was doing was right? Judas betrayed Jesus with a kiss of a friend. Then it got crazy. Peter grabs a sword and cuts this guy's ear. Jesus. He just reached down, picks the ear up, and put it right back in the guy's head, as if nothing had happened. And then they took him. I would love to tell you that we fought for him, but we didn't. Everyone ran. I ran. I'm so ashamed.
And they brought Jesus to Golgotha, which is translated place of the skull. Then they gave him wine, mingled with myrrh, to drink. But he did not take it. And when they crucified him, they divided his garments, casting lots to see what each would get. Now it was 9 a.m. when they crucified him. Above his head they placed a written charge against him. This is Jesus, the King of the Jews. With him they also crucified 2 criminals, one on his right and the other on his left.
I crucified Jesus. That's what the crowd wanted. And that's what they got. Personally, I don't think that man did anything to deserve that. But I was just a soldier doing my job. When the governor gave his sentence, that's when I went to work. I loved that job. I felt like I was administering justice every time I nailed someone to a tree. But that man didn't deserve that.
Makes no sense. There I was sitting in my cell, convicted of stealing, murdering. You name it, I had done it. I knew the next time I was going to be out of that cell, that was it for me. So the guards come and they grab me and they make me stand next to this man who was beaten to a pulp. And the governor Pilate, he looks at the crowd and says, "Who should I set free?" I knew what the crowd was going to say. They were going to say, "Let Jesus go." And then I was going to tell them where they could go. But they started chanting my name. Barabbas, Barabbas. That was my name they were chanting. They called to set me free. Soldiers shoved me into the crowd and I was free, and they took Jesus off to Golgotha. 1 minute, I was a man marked for death. And next moment, I was set free. So yeah, I followed him all the way to Golgotha.
I was stationed at Golgotha that day. We had just raised a second criminal by the time they brought him to me. I'll never forget the way he looked. He had been beaten, spit on, whipped. He was unrecognizable as a man. Hideous. What was left of his clothes were stripped off him, and he was thrown down on the cross. And that's when I went to work. Generally, when you crucify a man, the first hand is the most difficult. The criminal wants to run away, and he fights you, so I would have 2 soldiers hold him down. But this guy, he didn't even put up a fight. As an executioner, I've been called every name in the book. I've had men yell at me, plead with me. But I wasn't prepared for that. He looked at us, and he looked at me, and he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." He forgave me.
forgive them. He said, forgive them. I mean, who is he? Who talks like that? I should have been up there. It should have been me hanging on that cross. He took my place. I looked up and I saw him take a deep, agonizing breath. And he said, "It is finished." Then he died.
Surely, this man was the Son of God.
After the Sabbath, at dawn on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. There was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven. He went to the tomb, rolled back the stone, and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were white as snow. The guards were so afraid of him that they shook and became like dead men. The angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus, who was crucified. He is not here. He has risen, just as he said."
I'm not sure how. What's the word for terrified and excited? Do you know? All I know is that we were both those things that day and ran faster than sandals ought to go. But we had to let everyone else know what had happened. After Jesus was crucified, it was all over. Were we wrong about him? We must have been. Jesus was dead. So we hid. We hid in fear. But on Sunday, some of us women gathered together and went to prepare his body with spices and ointments. I mean, it was the least we could do. None of it made any sense. Those 3 days were the longest 3 days of my life, and we hid in fear. Oh, but Sunday, my mind raced faster than my feet as we bolted out of the tomb. The rest of the disciples will not believe us when we tell them. Massive sealed tombstone moved. Roman soldiers now silenced. Blinding angels and unnecessary grave clothes now lay neatly folded in the tomb as if they had a secret to tell. Well, if a picture's worth 1,000 words, then an empty tomb is worth 1,000 promises. Do you know what this means? All our lives we have been waiting for the Messiah to come and restore Israel. Jesus exceeded all expectations. He was a Messiah that none of us could contain. We were hoping too small. It means, well, whatever we have lost, God can restore. He lives, so we can live too. Our biggest roadblock has been removed. Not even the doors of hell can keep us out from a life with Jesus. Our strongest enemy has been defeated. So you tell me, what rival can stand against him? Kings? Presidents? Powers that be? Whatever's happening now? Whatever has to happen? Nothing can make that grave less empty. No temple veil, no checkered past, no hellish lie. Nothing can stop this mortal from putting on immortality. He has softened the sting of death and has swallowed up our defeat in victory. I don't have all the answers, but standing near those discarded grave clothes, the secret is out. He is not dead. He is not missing. He has not been taken away. He is alive. He left and walked out of that tomb left behind death and those grave clothes. If there's a way to be had, it is through him. If there has to be hope for this world, his name is Jesus Christ, our Messiah, my Messiah. Yes, Jesus, he is alive.